So the reason that I highlighted this can of Coke Zero is A, this is something that I used to have a lot of, and B, I bought this 2 weeks ago for this video, and obviously it hasn't happened until now, and it's just kind of imploded in on itself. But I've equally had no desire to have it, which I'll touch on at the end. But to preface this whole video, it's not going to be a case of this has changed my life, the best thing I've ever done, you should never have caffeine again. Far from it. If anything, it's made me appreciate caffeine more. So this is just simply going to be my experience, why I stopped having caffeine, what I've learned in the process, and what I would recommend if you watching are thinking about reducing your caffeine consumption or removing it entirely. So 6 weeks ago, I recognized that I was becoming very dependent on caffeine. I was having episodes whereby every now and again I would unintentionally have 3, maybe 4 days of no caffeine, and as a result, I'd have this really intense brain fog, just like clockwork, and it was so overwhelming, it was just a banging headache. I don't know the exact science, but it's something to do with your nervous system and the lack of stimulation, and it causes your blood vessels to vasoconstrict. That's what was happening to me, and it was just uncomfortable. It impacts your productivity, which is ironic because caffeine is what makes you productive and more focused and more accurate with what you're doing. I was experiencing that every now and again, and I thought that isn't a good place to be when you almost have withdrawal symptoms from something. It's like a drug. That's what it felt like, and I thought, I don't want that. Secondly, I was doing it more so for behavioral reasons, not for the cognitive benefit. Caffeine is meant to stimulate the nervous system in a way whereby you feel more productive and you can get more done within a short amount of time or during certain periods of the day. I wasn't doing it for that. I worked within the same 4 walls. I work at home. I'm traveling at the moment, but when I'm working at home, it's the same 4 walls. I needed a reason to get out of the house, so I'd go and get a coffee, whether it's an energy drink or coffee. Now, on the topic of caffeine and on the topic of what it is that I was having, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about fitness people, but we love a Monster. I don't know what it is, but anybody in the fitness industry, or I would say 8 out of 10 people, they love to have a can of Monster. Now, I haven't had all of these flavors, but I've had a good handful of them, and the white one is by far the best. I've never seen that one before. That is new, but they're fun to look at, and I'm not gonna lie, I succumb to the marketing. And will I have one again? Probably, at some point. Maybe. I'm not sure. But this was the number one, by the way. This is what I used to have every day. This has 150 milligrams of caffeine. Sometimes I'd have 2 a day, and so therefore you're looking at around 300 milligrams. It's a lot of caffeine for some. It wasn't a lot for me. I'm 6'3". I weigh around 88 kilos. I felt it, but it wasn't anything significant. That's what I would typically have. I never used to have hot coffee. I also used to have diet drinks, and that's why this Coke Zero was quite poignant, because if you're somebody who's going out at night and not having alcohol because you're trying to be sensible with your diet and you end up having this, it's definitely a better alternative for weight loss, but this has about 40 milligrams of caffeine. If you're having 3 or 4 of these in a night, then you've had basically a cup of coffee and then some. So if you're struggling with your sleep, this is probably why. So something to think about. So side effects. Let's make this short and sweet video. Side effects. I had brain fog after 3-4 days. It was really intense and it was very difficult to overcome. In the moment, it was very overwhelming. Exercise helped. Getting outside, going for a walk helped. Plenty of water, that helped. And then sleep. It sounds quite intense, but again, when you're having it every day and then you suddenly cut it out, it can be quite a shock to the system. So the good news is after around 3, certainly 4 days, you kind of go over the hill and then you're fine. Your body doesn't crave it anymore. It's just adapted. That's the only side effect I can honestly say I had from cutting out caffeine. It was that initial shock to the system, which again was very intense. Now, in terms of what I learned, I've got a few points here. The main one above anything else was sleep. I can categorically say from my own experience that sleep is by far the best thing you can do for your productivity and energy. And I think a lot of people, if not everybody, knows this, but yet we mask it over with caffeine by having lots of it. Now, I say this knowing how fortunate I am with the lifestyle that I've created, that I can have some downtime and I can have a nap when I want. I'm fortunate in that regard. But if you're necking coffees every single day, that's probably, the way I kind of look at it in terms of an analogy, it's like putting glitter on dog poo. You're kind of masking over it, but the root cause is still a problem, and that is you're not getting enough sleep. So if there's ways that you can improve your sleep hygiene, I encourage you to do it, because we shouldn't be necking certainly more than 2 coffees a day, in my opinion. And I'll leave a couple of links below in terms of how you can improve your sleep hygiene. But sleep is far better than caffeine if you're wanting more energetic, productive days. The second thing is my circadian rhythm. I fell much more in sync with my circadian rhythm. Without going too much into the science, your circadian rhythm is your internal body clock. It dictates when you're tired and equally when you're energetic. Naturally in the morning, we have more focus, we're more alert. We tend to have a bit of a lull in the afternoon, so it's very normal for our circadian rhythm to dip during the mid-afternoon, so around 2-3 p.m. Our melatonin increases and we feel this almost lull, an afternoon lull as people refer to it, and that's when people typically reach for caffeine. Now again, I'll leave a link below in terms of how you can navigate an afternoon lull, but your circadian rhythm naturally dips, it increases a bit again, and then it dies down for the evening, ready for you to go to sleep. I was going to bed and waking up at the same time, and have been doing for the past 6 weeks without fail. The odd night I'm out a bit later, don't get me wrong, but generally I don't have an alarm clock and I'm getting up at the crack of dawn, around 6:30, 6:15 every day. I've never felt more in sync with a bedtime and a wake up time. So that's something that I've experienced. Caffeine definitely messed that up from my experience. The third thing is when I did feel tired, it correlated highly with either a poor sleep the night before, and I think because I wasn't having caffeine, it didn't mask over anything. Again, glitter on dog poo. When I was really tired, it's because I had a poor sleep the night before. The second thing is when I was experiencing that bout of tiredness, it was either, again, poor sleep and or a certain time of the day, usually around mid-afternoon, when I'm naturally a little bit more fatigued, having worked for most of the day prior to that. So it just made me more aware of poor sleep and also that period of the day where you naturally feel a bit more tired. So it reassured me that I didn't need caffeine, I just needed to rest more. So that was the second thing. In terms of the third thing, I would say that, and this is something which I never thought I'd really say, but I don't crave it. I don't crave fizzy drinks. I have no desire to have that Coke Zero. I have no desire whatsoever to have that. And it's been like that for 6 weeks. I have no desire to have a can of Monster anymore. I just don't care for it. And when I remember when I tried this before, and maybe I lasted 2 weeks, and I had a Monster again, and it felt chemically. It felt like chemicals. It didn't feel or taste as nice as it used to. Maybe that was just me. But if I drink that, I'm sure I'll have an okay time. But equally, I'll probably just think, probably didn't need that. It certainly helps with your teeth as well. Fizzy drinks are a surefire way to damage your teeth. I'm talking from experience. And the final thing I learned, I became more tolerant to caffeine. The more you have of anything, and use exercise as an example, the more you exercise, the more competent you are at exercise. The more caffeine you have, the more tolerant you are to caffeine. And so if you're having it every day, by doing that, you're almost negating the impact of it. And so what I would advise, based on all of that, and these are my recommendations now, is the first thing is maybe have a circuit breaker every now and again. Maybe every 7 to 14 days, either half your caffeine consumption or have it on certain days of the week, and or have a week off entirely. Reset that stimulation, because I can guarantee if you have a bit of time off from caffeine, when you reintroduce it, it is going to serve like rocket fuel, and you're going to feel so much more powerful with caffeine in your system as opposed to having it every single day, in my opinion. So have a bit of a circuit breaker if you can. The second thing is sleep hygiene. I've talked about this already in this video, but going to bed at the same time, reducing your screen time late in the evening, having night shift on your phone, really, really good, I find, to really suppress the stimulation on your eyes if you choose to be on your phone. So go to bed at the same time as much as you can, wake up at the same time as much as you can, cut caffeine off by honestly 12 p.m. If you're having it after that, then I would argue that you're probably sleep deprived. So cut that caffeine off. Plenty of water, try not to eat 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. All of these things for me have helped me regulate my circadian rhythm. It's meant that I've gone to bed, and when I do that, I fall asleep fairly quickly. I wake up at a similar time. And the last one is coming from a place of luxury, and I appreciate this, and I say this sensitively, but napping. If you can nap during the day, I encourage you to do it. During that moment of time where your circadian rhythm is a little bit lower and that melatonin is a little bit higher, around that 2-3 p.m. time, have a nap. Just switch off everything. If you have an eye mask, I'd highly recommend. I have one and I have earplugs. Just let your body relax. Even if you don't drift off into somewhat deep sleep, give your body time just to chill out, because if you're anything like me, your head is going 24/7, and there's so many things going on in my head at the best of times. I don't really ever have a moment other than around that nap time whereby I'm just relaxed. But the power of 20-30 minutes napping in the afternoon is going to do the world of good. Now, I know what you're thinking, David, it's all right for you. I work 9 to 5 or I work shift work. I can't just have a nap when I'm tired. I hear you. I don't necessarily have an answer to that, but what I would say is when you do have a day off, try not to have a lie-in. Get up at your normal time and then almost schedule in a nap on that day. So if you get up normally at 7 a.m., don't have a lie until 9. Get up at 7 and just trust that your body, come 2-3 p.m., is going to feel a little tired, assuming you've not pounded loads of caffeine down your throat. Have a nap in the afternoon and it will regulate your sleep so you're ready to go to bed at the same time or a roughly similar time in the evening. So if you can't have a nap when you can, whether it's the odd day off in the week or at the weekend. So on a final note, what are my thoughts on caffeine? I'll get my Coke Zero back. I probably won't have this because this is very warm. But will I have caffeine again? Yes, I'm sure I will. I'm not against it. I think it can be used very potently in the right stimulus, with the right environment, But if you're somebody who's looking to reduce it and cut it out, you 100% can do it. You just need to do it. Sounds patronizing, sounds really simple, but just do it. Make that decision. The first few days are going to be tough, but on the other side, life is pretty damn bliss. I feel great. I'm exercising. I've got a good nutrition in terms of well-balanced all around. That helps, but generally, I don't need caffeine. I've had not one thought about caffeine over the past 6 weeks. And I'm in Indonesia at the moment where the stuff here is rocket fuel. But I don't crave it. Maybe that'll change. I'll keep you posted. I hope this video has helped. I'll speak to you in the next one.